Mark Carney pledges $150 million in additional funds to boost underfunded CBC. It's kind of funny that they put underfunded in quotation marks in relation to their own funding. Is that an admission? What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Jonny Says So, episode 26, Bribing the Legacy Media. And it's looking like this is exactly what is going on here as Mark Carney pledges $150 million to boost the CBC. Liberal government would also make the broadcasters' funding statutory. That's right, guys, they want to write it into law that the CBC is now a protected class in Canada. Mark Carney made all of these promises earlier today, so let's go check in with what he has to say.
Across the country, Canadians rely on CBC, Radio Canada, from Schitt's Creek to Hockey Night in Canada and Mike Myers.
Okay, first of all, Schitt's Creek has been over since 2020. Now, I don't expect Mark Carney to know that because he has been a little bit busy being a European citizen and not living in the country while advising Justin Trudeau. And as for Hockey Night in Canada, that has been primarily funded by Rogers Communications since 2014. Again, I don't expect him to know that. He's just using Hockey Night in Canada to tug on the heartstrings of Canadians because it is a valued institution. And Mike Myers, interesting he had to throw that in there, as I've covered in my other video. Mike Myers has been shilling for him recently. These are the three references that he can list off of the top of his head. That's it.
These are products of Canada. They're the result of strong, representative public broadcasting. CBC Radio Canada is especially vital for Canadians in rural and remote areas where it's often their only source of local information.
Isn't that a problem, though? Somebody in rural and remote areas only having one source for their news? No, having the internet in general is a good idea if you're living in a rural or remote area. Reliable internet, which is something that we don't have in Canada, and we should.
Canada's identity and institutions are under attack by foreign interference. And instead of defending them, Pierre Poilievre is following President Trump's lead and taking aim at our institutions like CBC.
There it is. We've heard this narrative before, guys. Anything that doesn't come from state-run media must be foreign interference. Couldn't possibly be the organic opinions of Canadians. Gotcha.
Radio Canada. Pierre Poilievre pretends that you can keep one but not the other. But he's not Solomon. You can't split this baby. His attack on CBC is an...
What a strange reference. I'm sorry, guys. I want to get through this, but I have to interrupt him at every turn because everything he says is just so odd and wrong.
Attack directly on Radio Canada, and it is an attack on our Canadian identity. If elected, my government will take action to enshrine and protect and strengthen CBC Radio Canada for generations to come. We will modernize the mandate of our public broadcaster. We will give it the resources it needs to fulfill its renewed mission and ensure that its future is guided by all Canadians and not subject to the whims of a small group of people led by ideology.
I find the spin that he's trying to put on this very strange when he talks about CBC being the voice for all Canadians, as if a state-run media institution is some sort of town square, as he puts it, where everybody has a voice, but that couldn't be further from the truth. He simultaneously talks about the dangers of social media and misinformation, but these are exactly the kind of platforms that are traditionally referred to as a town square, where everybody actually does have a voice. not a news organization that dictates opinion to you through the television. This is such an antiquated line of thinking that doesn't really fly in the 21st century.
When it comes to this most important of Canadian institutions, all Canadians should have their say, not just a small group. We will not only increase CBC Radio Canada's funding by $150 million, but we will also make this funding statutory, meaning that Parliament as a whole will need to approve any future changes to its funding, not just the Cabinet. By strengthening our public broadcaster, we're protecting our identity and our culture and helping it to shine around the world. We're making Canada strong.
So my big question in all of this is, going forward, he says that Parliament is going to be making decisions on the funding of our state-run media and not a small group of ideologues, as he puts it. So is Parliament going to be making this decision that you're talking about right now, Mark Carney? Or is it you and your small group of ideologues? I think it's a fair question. Now, Pierre Poilievre responded to this earlier this afternoon, so I want to go check out his rebuttal to this.
My approach won't have an impact on Radio Canada, but you know, I find it interesting that Mr. Carney is now proposing hundreds of millions of billions of dollars in additional spending. Let's be clear on this. Mr. Carney has not proposed a single penny in cost reductions in this government. He is now proposing to stack billions more costs on top of an already morbidly obese government. He was the economic advisor to Justin Trudeau while they doubled the debt, doubled housing costs, and delivered the worst inflation in 40 years. And now he says that if he's elected to a fourth Liberal term, he will make government and therefore the cost of living even more expensive. We need a change, folks. We can't go on spending money we don't have on things we don't need, or our people are going to end up with even more brutal inflation.
Money we don't have on things we don't need. Is that a George Carlin reference?
I will be cutting waste, bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, and other unnecessary expenses to reduce taxes, debt, and inflation. And that's the choice in this election. Do you want a fourth Liberal term of costs and crime up and the economy down under America's thumb, or do you want a new Conservative government that will bring down the cost of living for a change?
Merci.
I think that's a perfectly reasonable position to take, in that we shouldn't be dumping more money that we don't really have into these institutions. Now, I want to show you something that he said last year on the issue of the many vacant buildings that are still owned by the CBC. Alex Sultan on Twitter: breaking, Pierre Poilievre reconfirms his plan to sell off the CBC headquarters and convert it into housing. Members of the Canadian Police Association cheer loudly upon hearing this. Now, when it says breaking, guys, I'll remind you that this is from last year.
We will sell off 6,000 federal buildings, thousands of acres of federal land to turn into housing. And it warms my heart to think of the beautiful family rolling up in their U-Haul to move into their beautiful new home in the former headquarters of the CBC. Yeah, we're going to be selling that one. Have you seen that palace? Tom, do you have a headquarters like that? No. Have you seen that place? It's like a 9-story palace. It must be worth $500 million, maybe $1 billion. That'll be our asking price. So that's a lot of homes we could fit in there. And we're also going to back the trades, because we need more boots and not more. We will.
All right, so there it is, guys. Mark Carney wants to dump even more money into the CBC and make it so that it basically can't be changed going forward, and it forever becomes a mouthpiece to the Liberal establishment. Or we could claw back a little bit of our hard-earned tax dollars and let media institutions stand on their merits and what Canadians actually want to see. And that's my show for tonight, guys. And I'd love to know what you think in the comments. Would you like to see more of your hard-earned tax dollars going towards the CBC? Do you think it's a good idea to enshrine this into law so that it becomes almost impossible to change? Or would you like to see this clawed back just a little bit? And as always, guys, if you like what you see here, hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you always know what I'm up to. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.